Welcome to Resilient Love Podcast.
Join hosts Quinton and Breonna as they discuss tips on love, life, and
business.
Let's get into this next episode. What's up, everybody?
What's up, everybody?
We are back with another episode of Resilient Love. Yes, guys, we are feeling really good. We hope that you guys are feeling good and you have enjoyed the episodes that you've been listening to thus far. So, as we like to start our episodes, Q is a little quiet. What's going on, Q? We got to do our check-in, so let's check in. How are you doing, Q?
I'm doing. This has been a challenging episode, so I am really praying. Technical difficulties. God knows this got to be a good episode. You know how sometimes the worst, everything happens that you don't expect, and it's like, oh snap, we struggled on that. So that's what I'm hoping for today.
Yeah, he's hoping for a great outcome, and so am I. And I think that it's going to be a great outcome because God is good. So before we go into the quote of the day,
how are you doing today? You didn't answer.
I'm feeling wonderful. I am just ecstatic and excited about this opportunity.
Is that the face you put on for work, or are you telling the truth?
I'm being very honest.
Okay.
Very honest.
You know how you put your face on for work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Ladies, we know when you put your makeup on, that's your face. But
I'm talking about that face. How you doing this morning? Good morning. Good morning.
Yes, that's right. So yeah, you guys can catch a little glimpse of how it is right before you record. That's why this episode is called Say I Do Again. Say it again. But before we get into the episode and our quote of the day, what is your success moment or your big moment? Well, I forgot, what did I call that?
Oh my goodness.
What would we call the segment?
Oh my God. I can't remember. So you saying the highlight?
Yeah, highlight, shout out, highlight. Woo! There you go, teamwork. All right. So what's your
Say
shout out?
I do again.
What's your shout out highlight for this episode?
For this episode, resilience. Surprisingly enough.
Okay.
The resilience to actually push through and still record it.
Okay. The shout out highlight for me is honestly the same. You guys don't know what time it is and we won't disclose that, but just know it's a late recording. But we are determined to be resilient. Okay? This is Resilient Love, and we are determined to be resilient and keep our word for these episodes to be released. So to God be the glory. So let's get into our quote of the day. And it's from a person by the name of Mignon, if I'm saying that right, McLaughlin. And the quote says, a successful marriage requires falling in love many times, always with the same person. Let's repeat. A successful marriage requires falling in love many times, always with the same person.
Say the last part. Hold on. I got to do it churchy style.
Always with the same person. So, yes, when you walk down that aisle and you received your bride and you saw your groom, you were saying in that moment, I'm going to be committed to you, to this, to us, every time.
Unknowingly, not knowing what it looks like behind closed doors.
Not knowing the real outcome of that yes. Your yes has some highs and lows attached to it. Your yes is not just a yes to your spouse. It's a yes to whatever God has ordained for your path in this partnership.
And it's a flip to that.
Go ahead.
So when I heard you say it twice, I'm thinking, okay, somebody may be listening and it's like, okay, me and my bride, we stayed together prior to marriage.
Okay.
During our dating season, we stayed together. Let's just say a year or two. So we know each other. Right. But the difference is, once you say I do, it's different.
Once you say I do, it really is different.
Regardless if you stay together or not, it's just different. And I just wanted to highlight that because somebody may be thinking like, well, I know them. I've been living with them, but you haven't been living with them with a title, a real.
That's good. That's good. I hope y'all caught that. It's a difference. You know, sometimes you'll see videos on social media, what have you, and it will be like a clip or a little skit of what is it like before you said I do and what is it like after. And if you guys have seen the video I'm talking about, and we're going to try to tag it in our show notes, but the video is essentially a man and a woman, right? When you're dating, it's like you're trying to be cute. You don't want to, pass gas, or, you don't want to come off undignified.
The real version.
The real you. But then once you get married, it's like, you're going in the bathroom on the person, and you fixing your makeup while he, So you get my point. I think that's what the definition of evolving, and that's the definition of getting comfortable, and that is also going into what God calls becoming one. And I know that you might say, well, how did you tag that into that? Well, when you become one, it's a unified front. It's a synchronization that happens where I know how to finish your sentence. I know what you need without you saying what you need. I was in the prayer room and God revealed XYZ. That's what becoming one flesh really means.
Like earlier when we were walking and I finished your sentence.
Yeah. What's love
got to do
with it? Love has a lot to do with it. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, whosoever believeth in him shall not perish but have everlasting life. When you think about love covers a multitude. When you think about love, I want you to go to 1 Corinthians chapter 13. When you think about love, there's multiple scriptures in the Bible that can really express God's love in general. And so in this episode, we're going to be discussing our previous weekend activities and just the revelation and just what we have come to think of when we talk about saying I do again. So Q, you want to start us off with the podcast episode we were on?
Yes. Give me the title again.
Nevertheless, not what I wanted, but what I needed.
Right. All right. So I knew it in my head, but I just didn't want to get it wrong. So that's what love does. But anyway, so yeah, the book was it was a reflective moment. For us, it's going to be 5 years on July. I'm just playing. I know the date. July 6th.
I was like, hold on, now I gotta cut this recording off.
No. They gonna get it all tonight. Night, day, whatever it is right now.
Go ahead.
But yeah, so it was a very reflective book, a very reflective moment. Just kind of going through where we started, where we've been, and where we are. And I just love the fact that it highlighted biblical principle, biblical scripture, but also operating in biblical principles in marriage when it's the highs, the lows, and the in-betweens.
Yep.
it was just a very phenomenal book and a conversation.
Mm-hmm. And the episode that we were discussing with you guys is from The Unknown Preacher. If you guys have not checked out The Unknown Preacher LA, please make sure you check our description box. We'll have the link to the specific episode we're talking about, but make sure you go back and listen to the rest. But we were guest hosts, so we were assisting the unknown preacher. But as Quinton was sharing, being able to talk to the author of the book, Minister Tony Scott, and his beautiful wife, just being able to discuss the ins and outs of that book. And we're going to give you guys a snippet, but we want you guys to go to Amazon and either get it on Kindle or get the paperback. But the theme of the book, there are multiple themes in the book, but one of the themes that we really highlighted was the testimony of overcoming the challenges that the enemy does to attack your marriage. When you are overcoming the challenges that attack your marriage, you have to literally go back to the basics. When I say go back to the basics, I'm saying go back to prayer. Go back to the day you said you proposed, the day you walked down the aisle and said, I do. All of those moments when the enemy comes in to attack your partnership, your union, the husband and the wife, you really got to understand that the enemy has 3 tactics: to kill, to steal, and to destroy. And he's going to come at you any way he can to fulfill his master plan. But we thank God that we serve the one who has the ultimate plan and has our life in his hands. That's Christ Jesus. So in that book, you're going to see multiple themes of the author sharing his personal testimony, his background, and then how a major spiritual attack hit his marriage. Mm-hmm. But here's one thing that I really want to also highlight too. He said, I brought on the attack. Talk about that, Q. That when he shared the attack part.
Oh, so when
he said he opened that door.
You're right. So that's basically the point. Just how taking ownership, and even though you're married, I think it was wandering eyes.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like wandering eyes. It wasn't even I even to the point when people hear that they automatically think like sexual.
Right.
But his point of view was it wasn't even sexual. It was just intellect. Just the mind, how you think, not just the outer, but the inner. Mm-hmm. And he knew what he liked, but he also had to come to terms with, I just opened the door. And one of the other things about open doors is that he pointed out was like anything can be an open door. Yeah. Anything for anybody. And everybody's vices are different.
Right. Break that down.
So what appeals to you may not appeal to the next person.
Mm-hmm.
But either way, it opens a door.
Come on.
It opens your door. So essentially, you have to just have discernment.
Yeah.
Have discernment in all you do, where you are, your environment. And sometimes you may just need to remove yourself or remove that thing. Mm-hmm. Sometimes that thing, one of the things that he pointed out was sometimes the thing is the phone. We have immediate access to everything now on our phone.
Right.
We can see people we used to be hanging out with, people we went to school with. I mean, we get to see, oh my God, everything is so immediate
and accessible.
Yeah. And you got to think, because of that, you're not really getting all the authentic version, meaning that most people you see on Instagram, Facebook, XYZ, this is their best. They're putting on their best version.
Kind of like what we talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
When you dating, you're going to give that person your absolute best.
Right.
But it's going to take that prayer and discernment and, of course, spending time to learn the person, which is why prior to saying I do, even though we're going to get to our topic of say I do again, but we're leading up into it. But prior to that, you also got to get back to the basics with God. Because like if you don't have that self-awareness of, because that's really what the author was saying. He has an awareness that these things trigger me or these things appeal to me. And so because he was taking ownership of that, he was able to address that not only with his wife, but also in prayer. So that's what I'm saying. As an individual, you have to know, oh, this is a stumbling block for me.
Or just a pure trigger. For example.
A trigger, yeah.
I won't say his name, but somebody that comes to mind right now, very influential guy, but he states that, you know, recovering from certain things and a lifestyle that was just derailing down with drugs, sex, XYZ, there's just certain environments he's not going to be in.
Right.
And I think that's a discernment level and a maturity level. For some people, they can, let's just take, for example, someone that used to be on drugs heavy in the street life, they can go back
and minister. Right.
But there are some that can go back and minister at their level, but it's still ministry. So you just have to be comfortable enough with yourself and be true to yourself and just say, okay, that's how much I can do. This is my cutoff.
This is my cutoff, right.
So I don't fall trapped back to where I used to be.
Right, and you don't then open up another door.
A new door.
A new door, right. Because that old door done got closed, but you done went back to your old ways, so new door. The enemy like, new door. And so that's why we want to go to, speaking to our married couples, whether you're newlywed or have some years under your belt, we really want you to go back. We want you to go back. This is your reminder today to go back and say, I do. We want you to renew your vows to yourself and then renew your vows to your spouse. And you probably say, hold up, Bree, what you mean renew vows to myself? Here, I'm about to break it down for you. Quinton and I, part 2 to our weekend, that was part 1 he shared with the episode. So make sure you guys go get that book. We're going to put the book in the description. But part 2 to our weekend was we went to a wedding. And as we were listening to the minister speak to the couple and give awesome revelation of the scripture and just speaking God's blessings and favor over them, it literally took me back. It took me back to July 6th. It took me back to the months leading up to July 6th. And that's why I want you guys, the very first step we want to say to the couples out there is to renew your vows with yourself. Like when you were preparing to become a wife, when you were preparing to become a husband, you did some adjustments. You did some adjustments so that you could be in the right spirit, the right headspace to receive this next level. And so sometimes when you finally get what you've been praying for, you forget what it took to get it. You forget that it took prayer, fasting. You forget that it took some practical things like
dating,
keeping yourself up, dating,
being intentional.
Thank you. Being intentional overall. So that's what we want you to say. First step, renew your vows to yourself. When you were saying like, I want a man who has this, who does that, whatever. Are you evolving? Since you said I do, where are you at individually? Where are you? Check you. Then part 2, renew your vows to your spouse. You know, we said these phrases: for better, for worse, for richer, for poor, in sickness and in health, until death do us part. We said those 4 phrases, and some of us did individual custom vows, and go back to those. For those of y'all that wrote them out, go back to that paper, go back to that book, go play your video again. I know y'all got your video. Go play your video again. We want everybody who was a newlywed to the seasoned married couples, go back and say I do again. And say I do, I will, right? Because some minister said, say I will, right? I will blank, I will. And that's something else. When you say I will, that's showing a willingness and openness. When you say I do, that's an action. That was another quote that we were looking at. Marriage is not a noun, it's a verb. It's what you do. Loving you is showing you love. That's an action thing.
True.
That's an action. What you want to say on that, babe?
It's, with all that being said, I mean, I really can't follow up with too much on that.
Oh my gosh.
But I will just say, like, it's real easy after maybe a year. I think after, I'll say, even, I won't say 6 months. I think 6 months is still fresh. But after a year, it's real easy to get in, like, almost like a stale moment where you feel you don't go out as much, you don't make plans like you used to, you and a lot of times, I will be honest, depending on the work you do, work plays a very big part of that.
Break it down.
Because that's what you do for a very big portion of your day. That's a majority of your day. Most people work an 8-hour day.
Right.
If not more. For those that don't, God bless you. And please be using your time wisely when you ain't working 8 hours. Please. There's no, I'm going to be honest, there's no excuse for you. And there's no excuse for any of us. And that's my point. Like, we have to be intentional no matter what season we find ourselves in, what challenge we find ourselves in. And I think I even said this earlier. Challenge is going to do one or two things. It's going to challenge you until you change.
That's right.
And you just have to figure out which side of the spectrum do you want to be on.
Right.
You want to stay on the challenge longer, or you want to change?
Yeah.
And get the reward. So like, I can remember, like, you literally told me one time, you was like, we don't do stuff like we used to, or like having something to look forward to on the weekend, or even in the weekday. You know, one thing we incorporated, I think maybe a year or two ago, was doing like the Tuesday night movies.
Yeah.
$5 movie night.
Yeah.
And just random work week night. Stop trying to wait till the weekend.
Come on.
I'm gonna be honest. Like, that has irked me. That's irked myself in the last. I'm bothered by myself.
Yeah.
By just trying to wait till Friday, be dog tired on Friday, fall asleep on the couch trying to talk, look at a movie, get up Saturday trying to cover 1,000 things.
Tell it.
And you trying to squeeze a little event in there again. You tired again.
Right.
Sunday, if you go to church, you come home, you prepare for the week. Yeah. See how, like, that whole cycle, it makes you tired. Yeah. So
we had to make adjustments.
And we continue.
To make adjustments. And that's another reason why we want to bring this episode to you guys, because when you saying I do again, and God gave me this simple revelation, but it's still profound, that when you do something again, that's what so like relaunch. God told me relaunch, renew, restore, revive. When you hear those terms, right? Is a prefix that means again, like a do-over. And so I just thank God for his grace and his mercy that he allows us to do it again. Every morning that he allows us to wake up, that's like an opportunity to get it right again. And so we want marriages to get it right again. Like, get it right. Get back to loving your spouse. Get back to those basic, you used to send cute texts like, what you doing? Where you at? Hey, you got plans? I don't say that. Shut your mouth.
And I learned this one from an old school guy.
I look too good.
Technology make it easy for you.
Yeah.
Just send a YouTube video.
Let me tell y'all something. This is why Quinton and I are talking about this, because before we said I do, we did this. So now that we have said I do and it's going into our 5th year, we can tell you guys from both sides of the spectrum that you have to revisit. We know of a couple who is renewing their vows this summer. And like, we love Kev and Melissa. Mm-hmm. They are renewing their vows over, this will be their 20th year, 20th anniversary. And so they're renewing their vows, doing it big, right? We got a third point we're going to mention before we close the episode. But to close this point out, I just want everybody to know that when Quinton and I were dating, even though he didn't claim the title dating,
for a season.
Alone now. Okay.
I feel the shade.
But we were doing pens.
True. I was going to say, that is funny. I literally was like, should I say this or should I hold this?
No, we just finished the thought. It was there and then it.
That's so funny.
But when we were dating, we used to send each other pins from Pinterest. So we started a board and I would be like, what you think of this? Or I saw this outfit I did, or what about trying this new food when we go, cook at the house or something?
And we were very interested in real estate design.
So we did a board just off of dream houses. Mm-hmm. So we did a board off a dream wedding.
For somebody, this might be a good idea.
Yeah.
So try it.
Try it.
And tell us, and don't just try it. And tell us.
And then go follow us on Pinterest. Go follow us. Check out our pins. We still pinning. You see, we still here. But no, all jokes aside, like, that's a simple example that we truly still do today. We send each other pins when we have ideas.
But you didn't say, I'll say it.
Go ahead, break it down.
So where was, you may be wondering, where was the pinning? Mm-hmm. Almost like Pinterest, dating Pinterest version.
Yeah.
Where was that birthed from? And your answer is, it was birthed from distance.
Ooh. Uh-oh.
So proximity.
Come on now.
Created purposeful conversation.
Come on, Quinton.
And this was at the time where Bree took an internship to Washington, D.C. or Maryland. Yeah. At DMV. Y'all know.
Yeah. Yeah, for my DMV people.
So she took an internship.
I was in Bethesda, Maryland, at a Navy base. Mm-hmm.
At the Navy base. And this is where all the colonels, the high-ups, the president.
Obama would come to get his appointments there.
Right.
So, yeah.
So this was a big deal for her. This was the first time, like, going off that far for that long.
5-month internship, yep.
And it was different for me because I had kind of got used to us going out, doing stuff. And for that time period, it was just over the phone. And did we had FaceTime back then, didn't we?
But we were still like Glide. It wasn't
developed.
Yeah. Because we were still Android life.
Were we? Oh my God.
Yeah, still Android life.
Jeez. Ooh. Mm-hmm. Dating was different.
Yeah, it's elevated now.
But yeah, so
and GIFs.
Pinterest, the pinning, like in a dating way, was birthed through distance. So I say that to make a point for people that are gonna be doing long distance dating. Yeah. Pursuing someone long distance. Mm-hmm. You have to be, maybe it's not Pinterest.
Yeah.
But you gotta get innovative.
Exactly.
And stay motivated to find something new.
Yes.
Create things. I mean, during the pandemic, everybody was so creative. And
so creative.
Let's not lose that, guys.
Yes.
So
we figured out a way to make social distancing not so distant.
Right.
And that's what we are hoping that you guys gain from this episode, to not allow the enemy to create a wedge in your marriage, to not give him a threshold to come into a door, to be very watchful. You need to be a watchman on the wall of your marriage. You got to be a watchman. You got to literally pray without ceasing.
And this is slightly random, but
go ahead.
When we were talking about that, my mind fell back on there was some good stuff birthed out of the pandemic. And one was Keep Your Distance comedy.
Oh yeah, Kev. We love
Kev on stage. Yeah.
Kev on stage. We love Kev.
Just due to it was such a, like, it could be a very depressing and down time. But he was creative enough to create Keep Your Distance comedy, where it was a virtual using his virtual platform to bring comedy shows like back in the day feel like Def Comedy Jam.
Yes.
And I just use that as an example to say,
we look forward to that. That was a monthly activity that we would do at home. And that's another thing. Some of our very close friends, we call them our brother and our sister. That is what they do. They have weekly movie nights at home. And that's what we want you guys to do. We want you guys to create practical, intentional activities that keep that sense of, that little giggle that you just heard. Keep that same energy, as the kids say. Keep that same flow. Keep that same motivation, that same intentionality, because when we get in our 40s, 50s, 60s, etc., we see these older couples coming out on social media, showing Stella still got her groove, baby. And that's the thing. We are in our 30s, early 30s. And so we are advocating, especially for the ones coming behind us that may be younger. And then, of course, the older ones who may find love at an older age, keep the same intentionality it took to date the person. Keep that same focus. Date them for life. You married for life, but date them for life. That same energy. So when we say I do again, that's what we're saying. Get back to the basics again. Like, renew the vow to yourself, renew the vow to your spouse, and make sure that you're intentional about creating an atmosphere that is conducive for the growth of the relationship. We are purpose partners. So there's a purpose in us being connected. And so we cannot lose the friendship, the love, the intimacy, the prayer time, the strategy, the practicality of like day-to-day activities. And we just cannot get overly consumed, by what's, like he mentioned earlier, about work-life balance. We talk about that, but that's real. You really have to balance. I do clock in here, but now I need to clock in for my family. I need to clock in for my marriage. I cannot continue to run their clock.
Right.
I got to clock out of that and clock into this, because this needs me. That's done. I need to go here.
Yeah. And for the companies for the jobs and companies that really take that serious, and it's not just another title or just another board on their website. Yeah, I'm being a little shady, and I can be at times, but don't think if I'm shady, it is deserved. But I'm gonna show grace today.
Y'all just caught a preview, okay?
I've worked for some great companies overall.
Overall, yeah.
But I have really worked for some companies that taken part in that work-life balance, and they took it serious.
Yes.
I mean, really serious. So I have a very high regard and respect for companies, organizations that take work-life balance serious, because if you're unhappy at home, it's going to be hard to be happy at work. And if you're unhappy at work, it's a struggle to be happy at home.
Man, that's a good quote, Q. Gosh, that was good.
I guess I done lived it, but
yeah, I mean, hey,
that's a real quote.
When we talk about resilient love, we mean that.
Mm-hmm.
We mean that we walked it and are walking it. So we are coming to you guys straight, no chaser. For those of y'all that know what I mean by that. But overall, I think that we have shared some good points, and we hope that you guys have enjoyed this episode and really taken heed to our personal experiences and how we are advocating for you to take time up with yourself, with your spouse, and with your family. Because some of you all have children, and so take time to cultivate all of these areas so that they can grow.
Yeah. And as we close out this episode, we hope that our transparency becomes your transformation.
Woo! I need to cut this camera.
All right. So
this has been another episode of
Resilient Love.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you to all listeners and subscribers. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube.
Leave us a 5-star review on Apple so that we can continue sharing resilient love. Thanks for listening.